Hi folks, Andy here, looking even more dishevelled as usual in my pyjamas, if you can believe such a thing. Going to be reviewing very briefly the next Guy and Smith book, which is Crab's Moon, which was released in 1984. And this one's a bit unusual because this is a side story book. This wasn't a sequel. After Crab's on the Rampage, which my video was botched thanks to YouTube, including it as a short rather than a 6-minute video, which it actually was. Crab's Moon is actually set in 1976 during the events of the first Night of the Crabs book, and it takes place at a holiday park, which is very close to where the main action takes place in the original story. So it's a side story, really, focusing on a couple of characters from that holiday park, their encounter with the crabs and whatnot. And unusually for a side story, this is quite a big Guy and Smith book. I mean, the paperback version weighs in at about 250 pages if you take away all the extra page count for introductions and fluff and whatnot. So quite large for a Guy and Smith pulpy paperback novel. And I'm not quite sure why it's so much bigger than the mainstream books when it is a side story, because there's not an awful lot that really happens here. Most of the page count seems to be taken up with members of this holiday park who, a lot of them aren't particularly likeable characters, doing fairly unlikable things. You've got the main, I guess she is the main female lead, who she's been dumped at this holiday park by her husband. She's got 2 kids, and she just leaves these kids at every opportunity to go out and look for fun. She meets a guy very early on that she decides she's going to sleep with, who just disappears, gets eaten, spoiler alert, and she takes his car back, leaving him there because she doesn't know he's dead, and carries on as if nothing's happened. And then she ends up having feelings for this holiday rep, who she's literally only just met, and I mean she's constantly ignoring her kids, so she's not a particularly likeable main character. This holiday rep that she gets with is kind of like another one of the main characters. He's looking for his girlfriend who's disappeared. She went to see her sister. And he wants to find her, but the roads are all closed and he can't get to her. And he kind of ends up in this sort of weird relationship with this other woman. I mean, people in Guy and Smith books just fall in love with people instantly, knowing them for minutes. If you thought Richard Lehman was bad at doing that, Guy and Smith's characterization is often pretty terrible, but that's not why we read them, and that's not a slight on him. He wasn't writing these books for in-depth characters. There's not enough space for that. He was writing them for action. You've got this guy's girlfriend, whose sister that she's seeing is actually another man. She actually goes through a whole bunch of weird, bizarre sexual things that just feel a bit strange and a bit padded out and a bit unsavoury, really, some of them. But Cliff Davenport turns up, weirdly enough, to offer a few bits of spiel just to show he's still in existence. There's the main holiday camp guy who owns it is a really nasty piece of work, but I did like him in the story because he added something. He had a bit more depth to him, and there's a few annoying kids. But most of the characters aren't particularly great in this one. The action scenes are decent. The opening bit on the boat is actually quite well done and well written. There's a bit where the crabs attack this sort of abandoned place, which was solid, and there's a solitary crab that is causing trouble in the camp. I think the best part is where all the men decide they're going to go for a march on the beach to get out, and there's this kid who's got severe disabilities who while he's watching this crab being shot, he's basically using his fingers as guns, shooting them, and he believes he's actually shooting these crabs. So he marches out onto the beach at night to face off against the crabs, to shoot them with his imaginary guns. And it's actually both a bit sad and harrowing how it all happens. It's kind of, this kid is genuinely convinced he can kill crabs with his fingers, with his mind bullets or whatever. And it was kind of a disturbing and fairly poignant sort of moment in the book as well. The crabs themselves are horrific as usual, and there's a few decent attacks, but it's also a bit padded, this one. It's quite padded out. There's an entire chapter here which is lifted directly from the first book, and then there's another bit of a chapter that's also lifted from the first book, Like I say, it focuses a lot on characters rather than Crabs, and the ending is just non-existent. So, of the Crabs books so far, this is easily the weakest. But in saying that, it's not a bad book. It's just, if you've read the first 4 Crabs books up to this point, especially if you're reading from my reviews, well, hey, this one's like a non-essential book. It doesn't really have much of a consequence to it. It's not bad. It's just fairly mediocre compared to the others. It's definitely a book that you don't need to read, and you won't miss out anything if you don't read it. Yeah, it's a bit bloated and a bit padded, but not an awful book, but certainly not one of Guy's best.